They said she was vicious, a creature born of shadow and fang, too wild to ever know gentleness. But when Lyrene pressed her palm against the cold viewport, watching the alien woman sleep curled against the human's chest, she wondered if perhaps viciousness was just another word for misunderstood. The observation deck hummed with the low thrum of the starship's engines, a sound that had become as familiar to Lyrene as her own heartbeat. She stood alone in the dim light, her silver hair catching the glow of distant stars, while her two dragons, Empress and Ashira, coiled protectively around her feet. Their scales shimmered like molten copper and twilight blue, small enough to fit in her arms, but fierce enough to sense danger before it arrived. Lyrene had been aboard the human research vessel Horizon's Edge for 3 standard months now, ever since her world had burned. The wars between the Dominion and the free colonies had consumed everything: her forests, her people, her home. The humans had found her in the wreckage, half dead and clutching her dragon eggs. They'd saved her, fed her, given her a place among the stars when she had nothing left. But they'd also brought her here. To witness this, through the reinforced glass, she could see the containment chamber below. It was vast, sterile, and cruelly bright, designed to hold something dangerous. And at its center sat a human man and an alien woman. The man's name was Lieutenant Connor Hayes. Lyrene had met him once, briefly, in the ship's mess hall. He'd smiled at her dragons, asked their names with genuine curiosity, and shared his rations when he noticed she hadn't eaten. Kind eyes, steady hands. The sort of human who made her believe that maybe, just maybe, humanity's reputation for compassion wasn't entirely propaganda. Those same hands rested gently on the back of the alien woman curled against him. She was Kelith, a member of a species the humans called the Varani. Lyrene had heard the whispers in the corridors, the fearful reports from the science teams. The Varani were apex predators from a death world where everything evolved to kill. Bone-white skin marked with crimson patterns, eyes like liquid mercury, claws that could shred combat armor, teeth designed for tearing. The military contingent aboard Horizon's Edge had captured Kelith during a skirmish near the outer rim. They'd sedated her, chained her, studied her like a specimen. And when she'd awakened in that cage, she'd been everything they'd feared: snarling, violent, untamable, until Connor Lyrene didn't know the full story. She'd only caught fragments from the crew's nervous conversations. Something about a test, a cruel experiment by the ship's head researcher, Dr. Victoria Cross, who wanted to see how the savage alien would react to an unarmed human locked in her cage. They'd chosen Connor Young, expendable, a low-ranking officer who'd asked too many questions about the ethics of keeping sentient beings in containment. They'd expected blood. They'd prepared medical teams and stunners and recording equipment to document the inevitable slaughter. Instead, they'd found this. Kelith lay against Connor's chest, her breathing slow, and even one clawed hand resting over his heart. Her fierce expression had softened into something that looked almost peaceful. Connor's other hand moved occasionally, stroking her hair with the same gentleness one might show a frightened animal or a friend. Lyrene's throat tightened. She recognized that gesture. It was how she touched Empress when the little dragon woke from nightmares of fire and war. Still watching them? The voice made Lyrene turn. Captain Elena Brooks stood in the doorway, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. She was a tall woman with dark skin and darker eyes, someone who'd earned her command through merit, not politics. Lyrene had grown to respect her in their brief time together. "I don't understand," Lyrene said softly, gesturing toward the chamber below. Dr. Cross said Kelith was too dangerous to live, that she'd kill anyone who got close. But look at them. Elena's jaw tightened. She stepped beside Lyrene, her gaze fixed on the scene below. Cross wanted to prove her theories about Varani aggression. She thought putting Connor in there would give her the data she needed to justify harsher measures. Execution, Liren said. The word tasted bitter. Yes. Elena's hands clenched into fists. But Connor saw something the rest of us missed. Or maybe he just chose to see it. Below, Caliph stirred slightly. Her eyes opened, those strange, silver eyes, and she looked up at Connor. He said something Liren couldn't hear through the glass. Calith's expression shifted. Something that might have been a smile crossing her alien features before she settled back against him. Empress chirped softly. And Liren felt the little dragon's anxiety through their bond. Ashira pressed closer, her warmth a comfort. What happens now? Liren asked. Alina's expression darkened. Cross is furious. She's been arguing with Command for hours. She wants Caliph terminated and Connor court-martialed for fraternizing with enemy assets. She's calling in favors, pulling rank. The captain paused, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. She's scheduled to open that chamber at 0600 hours. With a full security team. Liraine's blood went cold. They'll separate them, or worse. Elena turned to face her, and Lyrian saw something in the captain's eyes she hadn't expected: desperation. I need your help, Liren. You understand what it means to be hunted. To be seen as a monster because you're different. And you know what humanity is capable of, both the worst and the best of us. What are you asking me to do? Elena glanced back at the chamber where Connor and Caliph remained in their fragile peace. I'm asking you to help me prove that Dr. Cross is wrong. That Caliph isn't a monster. That she deserves a chance. She met Lorraine's eyes. And I'm asking you to do it in the next 6 hours. Before Cross comes back with enough firepower to end this her way. Liren felt her dragons tense against her legs. Felt the weight of Elena's request settle over her like a mantle. She'd lost everything once. She knew what it meant to be saved by human compassion, and what it cost when that compassion failed. She looked down at Connor and Caliph one more time. Two beings from different worlds, finding comfort in impossible circumstances. Tell me what you need, Lyrian said. Elena's expression shifted into something fierce and determined. First, we need to access Cross's research files. There's something she's hiding about the Varani, something that might explain why Caliph responded to Connor the way she did. She pulled out a data pad. But Cross has her lab under biometric lock. Only her DNA or a level 9 clearance can get us in. And you don't have level 9 clearance, Liren guessed. No, but I know someone who does. Elena's smile was grim. The problem is, she's not exactly friendly. And the ship's emergency klaxons blared to life, bathing the observation deck in red light. Elena's communicator crackled with static before a panicked voice broke through. Captain Brooks to the bridge. We have an unidentified vessel dropping out of F. Tolovarani signature confirmed. They're hailing us, ma'am, and they're asking for their missing scout by name. Elena and Liren locked eyes. Caliph, they said in unison. Below in the chamber. Calith's head snapped up, her entire body going rigid. She pulled away from Connor, her silver eyes wide with something that looked like hope or terror. Connor reached for her, confusion on his face. But she was already on her feet, staring at the ceiling as if she could see through the metal hull to whatever ship had just arrived. And in that moment, Liren realized their 6 hours had just become minutes. The bridge was chaos when Liren arrived, her dragons clinging to her shoulders as she followed Elena through the sliding doors. Officers shouted coordinates and threat assessments while holographic displays flickered with the image of a vessel unlike anything Liren had seen before, all organic curves and bioluminescent veins, as if something alive had been shaped into a ship. Status! Elena commanded, striding to her command chair. Lieutenant Commander Brooke Martinez spun from the tactical station, her face pale. Varani Dreadnought, Captain. 3 times our mass. Weapons charged but not locked on. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding we release their sister immediately or face what they're calling blood reclamation. Lorraine's stomach twisted. She'd heard stories about Varani war fleets during her time aboard. Entire colonies reduced to ash. Ships torn apart by weapons that seemed to bend physics itself. If they decided Horizon's Edge was holding one of their own captive. "Play the message," Elena ordered. A voice filled the bridge, feminine, cold as vacuum, speaking accented but clear standard. "Human vessel, we know you hold Kelith of Clan Vishara. We detected her distress beacon 70 cycles ago. Return her unharmed, and we depart in peace. Harm her, and we will carve your names into the void as a warning to all who cage our kind." The transmission ended. Silence fell across the bridge like a suffocating blanket. "Dr. Cross is on her way up," someone muttered. Elena's jaw set. "Of course she is." She turned to Lyrian. "We're out of time. I need you to get down to that containment chamber. Talk to Kelith, see if you can understand what's happening. If there's any chance of peaceful resolution, it starts with knowing why she was alone out here in the first place. And if Dr. Cross tries to stop me, then I'll handle Cross." Elena's eyes were steel. "Go now." Lyran ran. The corridors blurred past her, emergency lighting casting everything in crimson. Empress and Ashira chittered anxiously, their small claws digging into her shoulders for balance. She could feel their fear. It mirrored her own. But beneath it, she felt something else. Purpose. She'd been saved by humans when her world burned. Now maybe she could save someone else. The containment level was eerily quiet. Most of the research staff had fled to their stations when the alarm sounded, leaving the sterile halls empty. Lyran approached the observation window, her breath catching at what she saw below. Kelith stood in the center of the chamber, her head tilted back, lips moving in what might have been prayer or song. Connor stood beside her, one hand hovering near her shoulder but not quite touching, as if he understood she needed space, but refused to leave her alone. The door to the chamber had a manual. Override probably meant for emergencies. Lorraine's fingers trembled as she entered the code Elena had given her. The lock disengaged with a pneumatic hiss. Connor's head snapped toward her as she descended the stairs, his body instinctively shifting to place himself between Lyran and Kelith, protective, even now. "Who are you?" he demanded. "My name is Lurian. Captain Brooke sent me." She held up her empty hands, letting Empress and Ashira become visible in the light. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Kelith turned, and Lyran finally saw her up close. The Varani woman was beautiful in a terrible way, all sharp edges and predatory grace, but with eyes that held an ocean of sadness. Those silver eyes fixed on Lorraine's dragons, and something shifted in Kelith's expression. "Drakensha," Kelith whispered. "Starborn scaled ones. I have not seen their like since." She stopped, her voice breaking. "Since what?" Lyran asked gently, stepping closer. Kelith's claws flexed. "Since my world still had skies." The words hit Lyran like a physical blow. She knew that grief. Had tasted it herself when her forests burned. What happened? Lyran asked. Connor moved to Kelith's side, and this time she let him. His hand found hers, their fingers intertwining, human and alien, impossibly gentle. "The Dominion," Kelith said, each word heavy with old pain. "They came to our outer colonies, said we were too dangerous to exist near their trade routes. We tried to negotiate, to prove we meant no harm." Her free hand touched her chest, where Lyran could now see faint scarring beneath the crimson patterns. "They answered with fire. My clan. My family. They sent me away on a scout ship. Told me to find help. To survive. But your ship was damaged," Lyran said, understanding dawning. "Yes, I crashed near human space. When your people found me, I thought..." Kelith's voice hardened. "I thought you were like the Dominion." that all civilized species saw us as beasts to be caged or killed. I fought because I expected death. Connor squeezed her hand. And I sat down because I expected a person. Kelleth looked at him, and Liren saw something pass between them, an understanding that transcended species or language. It was the same look she'd seen between survivors of her own world. The recognition of shared trauma. Shared hope. "That ship up there," Liren said carefully. "They're your people?" "My cousin's fleet." Kelleth's expression tightened. "Vortala. She would have followed my distress beacon across the galaxy. She's—" A sound escaped Kelleth's throat, something between a laugh and a sob. "She's probably terrifying your crew right now. She's threatening to destroy us if we don't release you," Liren confirmed. Kelleth closed her eyes. "Of course she is. That's what family does. We protect our own, even if it means war." Empress chirped softly, and Ashira unwound from Liren's shoulders to glide down toward Kelleth. The little dragon landed on the alien woman's outstretched arm, her blue scales gleaming in the harsh chamber lights. Kelleth stared at her, tears forming in those strange silver eyes. "They trust you," Kelleth whispered. "Animals know. They sense intention. They sense kindness," Liren corrected. "And they see it in you." Connor's communicator crackled to life. "Lieutenant Hayes, this is Dr. Cross. Stand away from the specimen immediately. We're opening the chamber and extracting you." "No." The word tore from Connor's throat. "She has a name. She's a person. And I'm not leaving her." Static, then Cross's voice turned venomous. "You're relieved of duty, Lieutenant. Security team, prepare for hostile." The ship shuddered violently. Lights flickered. Somewhere distant, metal screamed. "Warning shot," Kelleth said quietly. "Vortala is getting impatient." Lorraine's mind raced. They needed to get Kelleth to the bridge, needed to establish communication before the Varani fleet decided talking was finished. But more than that, they needed to prove to both sides that peace was possible. That humans weren't like the Dominion. That Kelleth wasn't the monster Cross believed her to be. "Can you speak to your cousin?" Liren asked. "Make her understand we're not her enemy?" "If they let me reach a communications array, yes." "But," Kelleth glanced at the chamber doors, "your Dr. Cross will never allow it. She wants me dead. I've seen it in her eyes every time she came to observe me." "Then we don't ask Cross for permission." Elena's voice echoed from above. The captain stood at the observation window, her expression grim but determined. "We go around her. Liren, bring them to the bridge. Use the maintenance corridors if you have to. I'll handle Cross." "Captain, if you defy her," Connor started. "Then I defy her." Elena's smile was sharp. "I didn't become captain to watch innocent people die because someone couldn't see past their prejudice. Move, now." Liren grabbed Connor's arm, and Kelleth followed without hesitation, Ashira still perched on her forearm. They ran for the chamber exit just as the door burst open and security personnel flooded in, weapons raised. "Stop!" one of them shouted, but Kelleth moved like liquid shadow. She didn't attack. Instead, she shielded Connor and Liren with her own body, her claws extended defensively but not striking. "We're leaving," she growled. "Don't make me prove what I'm capable of." The security team hesitated, clearly torn between orders and the evidence before their eyes. This supposedly vicious alien protecting humans rather than killing them. In that moment of uncertainty, Elena's voice boomed through the ship's intercom. "All security personnel, stand down. That's a direct order from your captain. Anyone who fires a weapon will answer to me personally." The security team lowered their weapons, confusion written across their faces. Liren didn't wait. She pulled Connor and Kelleth through the door, Empress taking flight to scout ahead. They sprinted down corridors that grew narrower, more utilitarian, the ship's hidden arteries where crew rarely ventured. Behind them, Lyran heard Dr. Cross's furious screams echoing through the ship. And ahead, through the metal walls. She felt the thrum of the Varani dreadnought's weapons charging for a killing blow. They had minutes. Maybe less. Connor squeezed Keleth's hand as they ran. Whatever happens, I'm glad I met you. Keleth's response was fierce. Then stay alive so you can keep being glad, human. They burst through a maintenance hatch onto the bridge, just as the Varani ship's final warning came through. This is your last chance. Return Keleth, or Keleth stepped forward into the viewscreen's range, her voice ringing clear and strong. Vertala, sister of my heart, I am here, and I am unharmed. The transmission cut to static. Then the Varani dreadnought fired. The energy beam lanced through space, and for one terrible heartbeat. Lyran was certain they were all about to die, but the shot veered at the last instant, slamming into the horizon's edge's port stabilizer instead of the bridge. The ship lurched violently, throwing everyone to the deck. Sparks rained from overhead panels, and the lights stuttered before emergency systems kicked in. Shields holding at 40%. Brooke called from tactical, blood streaming from a cut above her eye. That was a precision strike, Captain. They took out our maneuvering thrusters. We can't run. Keleth was already back on her feet, her claws gripping the edge of the communications console. Vertala, please. Listen to me. The viewscreen flickered back to life, and Lyran finally saw the face of the woman who'd crossed the void to find her cousin. Vertala was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Taller than Keleth, with bone-white skin marked by deep crimson patterns that looked like war paint. Her silver eyes burned with barely contained fury, and when she spoke, her voice could have shattered glass. You dare show me your face while standing on a human warship, Keleth? While wearing their prisoners' marks? Vertala's gaze fixed on the faint bruising around Keleth's wrists, evidence of the restraints they'd used when she first arrived. I will burn this vessel to atoms and carry you home in a casket of their ashes. No. Keleth's voice cracked. Vertala, these humans are not like the Dominion. They caged you. Vertala roared. I found your distress beacon screaming through the void for 70 cycles. 70 cycles you spent alone among strangers who saw you as a specimen to study. Her claws dug into whatever console she gripped off screen. How many times did they sedate you, bind you? Treat you like the animal they think you are? Keleth's shoulders sagged, and Lyran saw the weight of truth in her silence. Because Vertala wasn't wrong. Not entirely. Dr. Cross chose that moment to storm onto the bridge, flanked by armed security. Captain Brooks, step away from command. You're relieved for gross insubordination, and... She stopped, seeing Keleth at the communications station. Her face twisted with rage. Get that thing away from... Connor moved faster than Lyran would have thought possible. He placed himself between Cross and Keleth, his voice steady despite the weapon pointed at his chest. Her name is Keleth. And if you want to shoot someone for showing her basic decency, Doctor, then shoot me. Cross's hand trembled on her sidearm. You've been compromised. Clearly the specimen has some form of pheromone-based. The only thing compromising this ship is your hatred, Alina said, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. She stood at the captain's chair, every inch the commanding officer. I've been reviewing your research files, Cross, the ones you tried to bury. Tell me, when were you going to mention that Varani biology includes empathic receptors? That they literally feel the emotions of those around them? The bridge went silent. Cross's face paled. That information was classified. Classified because it would prove they're not the mindless predators you claimed. Elena pulled up a holographic display, showing pages of Cross's own suppressed research. Varani aggression is a defense mechanism. They sense fear and hostility and respond in kind to protect themselves. But when they sense compassion, genuine care... She gestured to Keleth and Connor. They respond to that too. Laren felt the pieces clicking into place. She looked at Keleth, understanding dawning. That's why you attacked the researchers but not Connor. You felt their fear, their desire to hurt you. But Connor ... He sat down and offered me kindness when I expected death. Keleth finished, her voice soft. She looked at Connor with something that transcended gratitude. He was afraid, I could taste it, but beneath the fear was curiosity, hope, a genuine desire to understand. Her hand found his again. No one had looked at me that way since my clan died. Connor's eyes shone with unshed tears. You weren't a monster. You were just scared and alone. Anyone would have fought back. Enough of this sentiment. Vertalis' voice cut through. Keleth, I'm bringing you home. These humans can philosophize about compassion while they suffocate in vacuum. Wait. Liren stepped forward, her dragons coiling around her shoulders. She thought of her own world burning, of the humans who'd saved her when they could have left her to die, of Elena's kindness and Connor's courage. Vertala, please listen. I know what it means to lose everything. The Dominion destroyed my people too. My forests, my family, all of it ash. Vertala's expression shifted slightly, curiosity tempering her rage. These humans found me in the wreckage, Liren continued. They could have left me. Instead, they saved me and my dragons. They gave me shelter when I had none, food when I was starving. They aren't perfect, some of them are cruel, like Dr. Cross, but others ... She gestured to Elena, to Connor, to the crew members watching with hopeful eyes. Others see us. Really see us. Not as specimens or threats, but as people worth saving. Embers chirped and launched from Lorraine's shoulder, flying directly at the viewscreen. The little dragon pressed her snout against the display, as if trying to reach through to Vertala. Ashira followed, their scales shimmering with bioluminescence. Something in Vertala's expression softened. Drakensha, she murmured. The Starborn ones trust you. They trust her because she earned it, Elena said, stepping beside Liren. Just as Connor earned Keleth's trust. Not through force or manipulation, but through basic decency. She met Vertala's gaze without flinching. I won't pretend all humans are good. Dr. Cross is proof enough that some of us are capable of terrible things. But we're also capable of learning, of growing, of choosing compassion over fear. Vertala was silent for a long moment. Then her eyes shifted to Keleth. What do you want, little sister, truly? Keleth looked at Connor, then at Liren, then at the bridge crew who'd risked everything to bring her here. I want what I've always wanted. What our clan wanted before the Dominion came. Peace, understanding, a chance to prove we're more than the monsters others fear. And you believe these humans can give you that? Some of them already have. Keleth squeezed Connor's hand. One of them sat with me in darkness and showed me light. Vertala's claws retracted slowly. The ship's weapons powered down, the threatening hum fading to silence. Then I will honor your choice, Keleth. But know this, she looked directly at Elena. If any human harms my cousin again, I will return with my entire fleet. And I will show you what Varani truly are when we choose violence. Understood, Elena said. And if anyone aboard my ship threatens Keleth again, they'll answer to me first. Dr. Cross made a sound of outrage, but security had already moved to restrain her. The weapon fell from her hand as Alana's security chief read her rights for suppression of critical research and endangering the ship through hostile provocation. Keleth turned to Vertala. Will you stay? Long enough to talk? To help us build something better than fear? Vertala's smile was sharp but genuine. I'll stay. Someone needs to make sure these humans treat you properly. And perhaps? Her gaze lingered on the bridge crew, on their hopeful faces. Perhaps it's time the Varani learned that not all civilized species are like the Dominion. The view screen shifted to show Vertala's dreadnought, adjusting its position, not threatening, but protective. A silent guardian rather than an executioner. Connor let out a breath that might have been a laugh or a sob. Keleth leaned against him, and he wrapped his arms around her without hesitation. Two beings from different worlds, holding onto the hope they'd found in darkness. Lyring felt Empress and Ashira purr against her neck, their contentment flowing through their bond. She thought of her burned forests, of all she'd lost and all she'd found. The humans weren't perfect, but they'd taught her something precious, that hope could survive even the darkest fire. That kindness could bridge even the vastest void. Elena approached, placing a hand on Lorraine's shoulder. "Thank you. I don't think we could have done this without you." "You showed me the way first," Lyran replied. "When you saved me, I just followed your example." The captain smiled. "Then maybe that's what humanity does best. Not conquering or dominating, but showing others that compassion is stronger than fear. That the bridges we build matter more than the walls we raise." In the view screen, Vertala began negotiating docking protocols. On the deck, Connor and Keleth remained in their embrace, proof that understanding could flourish where hatred once festered. And throughout the bridge, crew members who'd expected war began preparing for peace. Lyran looked out at the stars, at the infinite darkness punctuated by brilliant light. Her world had burned, but from those ashes, something new was growing. Not just for her people, or for humans, or for the Varani, but for all of them together. A future where vicious was just another word for misunderstood. Where cages became open doors. Where sleeping curled against someone's chest meant trust, safety, and the beginning of something worth fighting for. Home wasn't a place anymore. It was this connection across impossible distances. Hope against overwhelming darkness. The courage to choose love when fear would have been easier. And in the end, that was the most human thing of all. Subscribe for more epic sci-fi stories where compassion conquers fear.